Welcome to NFL Nexus. Today, we are diving deep into what is shaping up to be one of the most fascinating and frankly chaotic off seasons for any team in recent memory, the Miami Dolphins. After a 2025 season that just flat out imploded, this organization isn't just tweaking the roster. No. They're hitting the big red button. They are planning a full-blown franchise reset. So in this explainer, we're going to break down every angle of this thing. A franchise QB on the brink, a contract so huge it's almost impossible to get out of, and a massive shift in philosophy that's going to define this team for years to come.
So, here's the game plan for how we're going to break this all down. First, we'll set the stage, look at the new leadership that's making all this happen. Then, we get to the main event, the Tua Tagovailoa dilemma and the absolutely mind-boggling financials that make it a historic puzzle. After that, we'll flip the script and look at the guy they do want to build around, breaking down the pros and cons of that move. And finally, we'll put it all together to see what this new identity for the Dolphins really looks like. All right, let's jump right in. A franchise at a crossroads. You know, the 2025 season was supposed to be the year for Miami. High hopes, tons of talent, and it all just fizzled out into frustration. So ownership decided enough is enough. Tweaking things isn't going to work. They needed a complete culture shock, a total reset, starting from the very top. This isn't about just trying to win a few more games next year. This is about fundamentally changing who the Miami Dolphins are as a football team. And I really want to hammer this point home. When we say reset, we're not talking about a soft reboot. This is a full-scale, down-to-the-studs demolition job. The new front office has basically been given a sledgehammer and a clear set of instructions. Blow it up. The goal here isn't to be competitive in 2026. The goal is to build a team that can be a true, sustainable Super Bowl contender 3, 4, 5 years down the line, even if it means taking some serious lumps in the short term. And these are the two men tasked with this monumental job. Your new general manager, John Eric Sullivan, and head coach, Jeff Hafley. And let's be clear about their mandate. It's not just win football games. Their number one job is to perform financial surgery on this roster. They have to get the team out from under these massive, bloated contracts that are holding the franchise hostage. It is a tough, messy job, and it starts with the biggest, messiest decision of them all.
And that, of course, brings us to the elephant in the room. You can't even begin to talk about a Dolphins reset without talking about quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. I mean, this is the guy who just a year ago signed a massive extension to be the face of the franchise. And now he's at the very center of a storm, with the team actively trying to figure out a way to get him off the roster. It's a stunning turn of events. And look, this isn't just fan speculation or hot takes on sports radio. This is a quote from Ian Rappaport. When one of the most plugged-in, respected insiders in the entire league goes on the record and says he would be surprised if Tua is still a Dolphin, that's not a guess. That is a signal fire. It tells you that the conversations happening behind the scenes are very, very real, and the new leadership is deadly serious about moving on. So what happened? Why the sudden change of heart? Well, the on-field justification is pretty stark. The year after he got paid, his play didn't just level off, it completely fell off a cliff. As you can see right here, he threw a career-high 15 interceptions. And these weren't just random picks. They were often happening in the biggest moments of the biggest games. His overall QB rating, which measures his efficiency, cratered to a career low. For a team that just gave him a blank check, that's not just a bad season. That is a 5-alarm fire. Okay, so his play was bad. The decision should be simple, right? Just cut him and find someone new. Well, here's where the story veers into totally uncharted waters for the NFL. The financials of his contract make this decision an unprecedented puzzle. We're not just talking about moving on from a player. We're talking about navigating a financial disaster of historic proportions. So let's just ask the question directly. Why is this so hard? Why can't the Dolphins just admit they made a mistake, rip the Band-Aid off, and start fresh at quarterback? Well, the answer really isn't that complicated. It all boils down to one single, almost unbelievable number. $99 million. Let that number just sit there for a second. If the Dolphins simply cut Tua Tagovailoa, that is the dead cap hit they would have to absorb. That's $99 million of their salary cap gone for a player who isn't even in their building anymore. To put that in perspective, the old record for a dead cap hit was around $40 million for Matt Ryan. This would more than double the biggest financial black hole in NFL history. It's insane. And that's why this is so much bigger than just a roster move. Cutting him would be, without exaggeration, the single largest and most public admission of a financial mistake in the entire history of the league. It's one thing to say a player didn't work out. It is a completely different thing to essentially light a $100 million bonfire in the middle of your facility for everyone to see.
So the new front office is staring at two doors, and one of them leads straight off a financial clef. On the left, you've got the cut option. That's the $99 million disaster. Even if they try to get cute and spread it out, it's still a record $67 million in dead money for 2026. That leaves the only door that's even remotely viable: a trade. It doesn't make the problem disappear, but it's a way to at least save a little face by basically paying another team to take the problem off your hands.
So how on earth do you trade a contract that no one wants? Well, you have to perform some serious financial gymnastics. First, Miami has to pay his $15 million option bonus. They just eat that. Poof, gone. Second, they have to agree to pay a chunk of his next year's salary even though he'll be on another team. By doing all that, they can turn his nightmare contract into a much more reasonable 1-year, $30 million prove-it deal for somebody else. And what do they get in return for all that financial pain? Maybe a 4th-round pick? They'd be paying a king's ransom just for a lottery ticket.
But here's the wild part. While one group of people in the Dolphins front office is trying to figure out how to get rid of one of the worst contracts in the league, another group, right down the hall, is working on a deal to create one of the league's biggest. And this shows us the other side of their rebuild strategy: identifying the guys they do believe in and making them the foundation for the future.
And that foundational piece is their center, Aaron Brewer. While the quarterback situation is a mess, the center of their offensive line is anchored by an absolute rock. In 2025, Brewer wasn't just good, he was an all-pro. That means he was voted as the best player at his position in the entire NFL. He's a perfect fit for their offense, and he's about to enter the last year of his contract. He's everything this new regime wants: tough, dominant, and reliable.
So what's it going to cost to keep him? Well, this table lays it all out. The market for elite centers is absolutely exploding. You can see Creed Humphrey at the top making $18 million a year, and everyone expects Tyler Linderbaum of the Ravens to completely reset the market, probably pushing past $20 million. So the projection for Brewer at $17.5 million a year puts him right smack in that elite tier. This would be a massive statement-making contract. Now, you have to look at a deal this big from every angle, especially for a team in rebuilding mode. So let's really break this down. Let's look at the arguments for and against giving Aaron Brewer this kind of long-term deal. Is it a smart move or is it a risky one? Okay, the case for extending him is really strong. First, and this is kind of a neat trick of salary cap accounting, signing him to an extension now would actually lower his cap hit in 2026, creating immediate cap space they desperately need. More importantly, you keep an elite player at a crucial position who is a perfect fit for what you want to do. And what's really amazing is that he played at an all-pro level with shaky guard play next to him all year. Paying this man sends a clear message to the whole league: the new Dolphins are going to be built and won in the trenches. But there's always a counter-argument, right? The old-school football philosophy says you just don't pay huge money to interior linemen. You save that for quarterbacks, pass rushers, and shutdown corners. Then there's the age factor. Brewer's 29, and for a player whose game is built on athleticism, signing a long-term deal that takes him into his 30s carries some risk. Is it smart to commit that much money to a player who might be declining by the time your team is ready to win again? It's a fair question. And this is where we zoom out and put all the pieces together. You have the messy, expensive divorce from Tua Tagovailoa on one hand, and the massive long-term investment in Aaron Brewer on the other. These aren't just two separate moves. Together, they are the first definitive statement about what the new Miami Dolphins are all about. They are forging a brand new identity. And this is the core of it, right here. For the last few years, the Dolphins have been all about flash, speed, finesse. They built a track team on grass, investing all their money in skill players like Tua and Tyreek Hill. The new regime is doing a complete 180. They're shifting that investment away from the flashy stuff and pouring it into the foundation. They want to win with physical, dominant play in the trenches. And this really sums it all up, doesn't it? The old Dolphins were built like a Lamborghini, fast, exciting, but maybe a little fragile. They wanted to outrace you. The new Dolphins are being built like a Mack truck. They want to run you over. It's a total pivot to prioritizing a powerful running game and a dominant offensive line. It's a whole new philosophy. What do you all think about this change in direction? Let me know down in the comments. And hey, while you're there, if you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to NFL Nexus. So that leaves us with the big final question hanging over this entire franchise. This reset is going to be painful, and it's going to be incredibly expensive. But in today's NFL, where just a few elite teams seem to dominate, is this kind of gut-wrenching, full-scale teardown the only real path back to building a true, sustainable championship contender? It's a tough pill to swallow, but it might just be the truth. Thanks for watching. And hey, before you click away, just a quick reminder that you can help support the channel by checking out our awesome coloring books. They're perfect for NFL fans of all ages, kids, grandkids, even adults. The link is right down in the description, or you can just scan the QR code on your screen. We'd really appreciate it.